right, so I'm going to take a poll of the audience, okay?
I'm going to do that.
No, this is objective, very objective. So if you had a choice of what kind of phone you wanted to make a call with today, would you want a bag phone that was parked in your car like mine was 20 years ago? Would you want a Motorola flip phone like I had 10 years ago? Or would you like a smartphone like I have right here with a computer in my palm? Okay. And I'm not minimizing my colleagues and their expertise, because that's really what they bring to the table. And I think they should be congratulated that they use our technology, whether it be standard jigs or whether it be navigation, and take on some of these tremendous challenges and make it look easy. I mean, that's phenomenal. And their patients are spoiled that they're taking care of them. I would argue that for the average surgeon, and in the United States, a majority of hip and knee replacements are done by general orthopedic surgeons who are not fellowship trained. And so you put one of these challenges in front of one of those surgeons, ideally they would say, well, that's a difficult case. I need to kick that over to the fellowship trained total knee specialist. But how about giving them the tools to tackle that? And that's how I see where this technology is evolving. And I think we can work very well with jigs and downsizing femurs or tibias, on a severe varus deformity when you've done all your media releases, or whatever technique you want to use. Or you can use navigation to address some pretty dramatic extra-articular deformities without having to do two-stage osteotomies, et cetera, et cetera. But I think for the average orthopedic surgeon who is not fellowship trained, who is in their training program, who is far more tech savvy than I will ever be, because they'll be like my kids in their 20s who are, I can hand my daughter my cell phone and say, Kenzie, this isn't working. And 10 seconds later, I have it back and it's working. Right? And she's 20 years old, and she's very adept at doing that. So the reality is that, technology is advancing, and the question is, with the platforms that were presented with standard jigs, that's about where things are going to stop. That we can't really go much further than standard jigs. With navigation, the question is, can that go further? And I don't know that answer. I'm not a smart engineer who thinks of things pulls an idea out of the air. That's why we have people like Costa here and his colleagues out of Carnegie Mellon or whatever other institution of higher learning, where these, they can apply their knowledge and create new ideas for us. So the question is, can navigation go to the next level? I don't know. Costa? I don't know. I know what the answer is, because you're the robotic guy. But the reality is with robotics, that's the wave of the future. And all companies, whether they're manufacturing cars, cell phones, or orthopedic products, they're going towards robotics. And everything is being miniaturized, made smaller. And this notion that a robot has to be a big, clunky unit as opposed to a handheld, high-speed burr that's controlled by a computer in a box that makes it look like there's a robot in there, but it's not. That has a platform that can be built upon. It's actually just a foundation as I see it. And like I said earlier, who knows where we're going to be even 12 months from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And right now we're in the semi-active stage of the robotics. And I see my colleagues at my hospital, where I work in rooms number 2 and 5, and room 3 is the Da Vinci robot. And I can tell you that robot burns day and night. They take out every body part they possibly can. But the difference is they're just taking things out. So their active robot works, and they just get to play the video game in their console. One of these days, I think we'll get to that point. And I think that's where the difference is from which foundation, jigs, navigation, or robotics, are we going to really leap into the future? And again, I don't have that answer. But I see the robotics in all these other applications as truly the future, and that's why manufacturing and everything else, they've embraced that. And, you know, we heard the term virtual reality. I actually prefer the term augmented reality because virtual reality is an artificial environment. We're working in a real environment, as was demonstrated very nicely to us today by 2 cases already, and we'll see more. But we work in a real environment. So an augmented reality environment is one in which we're taking a real environment and adding sensory input, whether it be auditory, visual, you know, whatever that looks like. And so I see robotics, whether it's Mako or Navio or the next platform that will come out, as an augmented reality. And that's just, we're just scratching the surface with what we can do with that. So to me, it's all about where we're going to go in the future, and how are we going to help those surgeons who need the most help. Not the most talented surgeons, you know, in this hemisphere. You know, they can do this with a blindfold on. But how can we help the general surgeon the most? And that's where I see robotics going. Thank you very much.